always say the biggest sense of pride that I want is I go to a pharmacy or a supermarket in the US and I see 5 or 6 Indian products there.
Yeah.
I need to make shipping accessible.
Shiprocket से आ रहा है तो पहुंच जाएगा, कोई टेंशन नहीं है, खरीद लो ऑनलाइन.
I'm going to start with a question. I was just reading before this our conversation. I typed Shiprocket and Google News में दिखाया that Shiprocket to turn into a unicorn 2 years from now, says the report. I want to understand. We've been living with the unicorn noise in the last 2 years, and for the right reasons. What do you have to say about this?
I think it's just a tag, first of all, right? It does help put some filtering mechanism on different companies, but and I often say this, we're trying to build what we're building for the next 20 years. So to us, it doesn't really matter.
The tags.
I mean, I'll be honest, when we raised our last round, we had the opportunity to become a unicorn even then. And we still said, but we want to choose the investors we want to work with. Because how does it matter? What is it going to add to the company? So it's not even a milestone, if you ask me, in our minds to say, have we made it here or there? What we really care about is what is the impact we are having on the market at large? What difference are we making in the lives of the merchants who are working with us, and how many?
You started Shiprocket in 2012, and it has been an interesting journey. And now with Shiprocket, tell us, how have you seen the landscape evolve?
The initial thought was actually inspired by the offline world. So I used to work at Walmart for a little bit in the US, and I was seeing what was happening around me with Amazon, eBay also at that time, and was also privy to have seen Shopify very early, 2011. No one knew them, right? And as an avid web developer, somehow the dots connected in my head, saying that, look, India will never have a US style cash carry retail because we are so high touch. Shopping is an experience, an outing in many cases, very personalized. Most of India's employment was driven by entrepreneurship, right? Micro entrepreneurship. So the parameters felt like, if it's not going to happen offline, then it's not going to happen online either. It's not going to be a horizontal marketplace take all. There's going to be a direct selling kind of component. So that was the macro thesis. And then when we looked at the market, we found nothing, like nobody was doing anything. And we were actually way too early, if I think about it. So I remember our early sales pitches, and Shiprocket was a Shopify-like product. It was a website builder with payments integrated, shipping integrated, simple kind of stack. But we were having to convince people to go online. So that was the harder part. And once the guys or merchants who were a little advanced would say, yeah, I want to do it, then of course we had to explain to them how to do it, what is SaaS. So we were trying to create too many markets at one go.
But also having the vision very early on that this was a possibility.
And in the last decade of us being around, that macro vision has not changed, right? We continue to maintain that, look, independent businesses need a way to sell directly. We've failed twice, pivoted twice. We built Shiprocket, then we built Craftly. And every time we got better, we learned and we redid. Right? So it's about sort of finding the right product that can, really make an impact to the merchants. But the macro vision is very much that, and it will continue to be that. Because that is the mission we are on. So that can't change.
If you could highlight very quickly what these journeys, early journeys, mean to come to a place like Shiprocket.
Every journey taught us something, right? With Shiprocket, we were trying to build a Me Too. We had no other way of doing it. So we said, okay, this is what Shopify did in the US. It should work in India. And we inspired everything from there, including their pricing plans. And then after some 2-3 years, we realized that, but this is not what the market wants. So it's not going to work. But there were learnings in terms of what do they want. Most people were jumping on the Flipkart, Amazon bandwagon, right? Most of the early seller market. Or they were retrofitting things like Facebook and Instagram, the micro merchants, to kind of sell their products there. So we were struggling with adoption. We were struggling with people doing it themselves. DIY was non-existent. People didn't want to pay a subscription. So all of those things weren't working. That were preventing our scale. So what we did is we instead inspired from consumer products, right? We looked at Make My Trip. We looked at OLX, right? Because OLX, maybe people have to make a listing.
Mm.
And that's how the Craftly version 1 came out to say, okay, let me take this product, which is a desktop product, let me take it to mobile. Because we knew mobile pay distribution hai. Jio had happened, smartphones were happening. Most people thought we were crazy. Yaar, website ko mobile se banana, because that time desktop was like a desktop. I mean, a website was a desktop thing. It was not a mobile mobile first kind of a thing, right? So we kind of made that happen. And that taught us that we are able to reach tens of thousands of sellers now. They are able to come in, take a picture, upload their product, create a 5-product website in a matter of a few minutes, ready with payment, ready with shipping. So at least we got one hurdle out. And then we realized that without any demand, it doesn't work, right? Because people will just churn out. They'll say, it's great, now where are my orders? So then we built a Facebook ad automation engine. We built a Google ad automation engine, which kind of scaled to a point, right? It took it to like 100, 200,000 orders. And in the journey, we understood that actually it is not the catalog or some of these problems, but the shipping continued to be a huge issue. And as a earlier stage startup, we didn't want to invest behind the supply chain the way an Amazon or a Flipkart did. Instead, we took the next best option, which was to say, look, we'll use the supply chain partners that are there in the market. Let us build very robust data and tech to fix this. And we were in the shoes of the seller, right? Because if there was an RTO, it would hurt our profits. Or if things didn't get picked up on time, the consumer would be banging on our head. So we had to deal with every part of that logistics. And then we kept on building tech interventions, partner interventions. And eventually the logistics tech stack that got built in Craftly was one of the best at the point in the country.
We had what we thought was a phenomenal product. It was. I think I still say it was probably one of the best tech products that I'd seen. A little bit early to market, but I think what we really learned from that entire journey is that we were very passionate about what we were doing, but sometimes you've got to take the passion out and look at your business very objectively and say, you know what, the product market fit just wasn't there. Whereas the product market fit for Shiprocket was resounding. And we just decided you were going to double down. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I personally learned as an entrepreneur, because it was very hard. It's very hard to shut down something that you've put so much effort, belief and passion into, but belief that you can do something better and you can add value to the same set of merchants that you're dealing with, but you can do something better for them. I think that was the biggest learning. It was, Saahil and I were talking a few days ago and he said, we were talking about professional setbacks. I was telling him, I think that was the first big professional setback I had in my career, is something I'd put in 18 months of my life into, and the 19th month, it just wasn't there.
I was speaking to an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur yesterday, and he was saying that somehow the TAM has to be very big. Your chances of going wrong there become significantly lower. And I was thinking when I thought, because I remembered our last conversation, that Craftly was a phenomenal business, but it was not a large TAM maybe business.
I actually don't agree with that.
Okay.
Right? Personally, for us, right? Because I think when we went after Craftly, it was supposed to go after a large TAM. A niche of the large TAM, but a large TAM. But with a large TAM, you also have large competition, right? What we learned instead is, and one of our board members, Rajan Mehra, who's an old investor in the company, he would always tell us that if you die, are at least 5% of your customers going to be very, very upset or not? If not, then you've built nothing. So the point is, you would rather be an extremely important single play platform or whatever service for a smaller set of people, and then see, because you can learn and evolve from there.
Yeah.
It's a journey. Do you have to go after a large time? Yes. But you don't have to do it on day one.
Yeah.
Right? You would rather pick a, smaller battle, win it, use that success to fuel the next step, then kind of build from there. That to us was a big learning, by the way.
Yeah.
Because when we built Shiprocket, the TAM was nothing. There were less than 1% direct commerce in India. Who cared? But our point was that, okay, whatever it is, they need this. If we go away today, there's a huge issue.
I'm loving this conversation. This to me is a masterclass. People know about Shiprocket, मगर एकदम साधारण ढंग से समझाना है. घर में कि Shiprocket कर क्या रहा है, तो what will you say?
It is the one single platform or solution you go to when you want to start an online business.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. And it's not that we will do everything for you. We don't have a shopping cart, but we have the entire ecosystem of partners. We have the entire ecosystem of solution providers and tools that you can plug into Shiprocket, and you can create. I believe that any business person, entrepreneur wants to go online, they can go online within 30 days. with everything if they come to Shiprocket.
Okay.
And if we don't do it, we facilitate it.
E-commerce needs to be democratized.
Yeah.
Today, the way the market's built is there's lots of walled gardens, and we don't think that's the right way to use technology. We believe technology should make lives for everyone better,
Yeah.
not a few people.
Yeah.
And that is also an underlying mission to say that, look, we'll help you get world-class tech, world-class intelligence, world-class supply chain, and you can be anybody.
What you're trying to create is an even playing field for everyone.
And that's at the core of our company, is very much an ethos for us, is having an even playing field, having democratization. You know, it's how, and this is something I really respect about Saahil, it's at the core of what he does, right? Everything in Shiprocket, we try to be as democratic as possible. And for us, extending that out to the ecosystem and extending that out to level the playing field and not making a few win, but making more people win. That's what our real goal is, to promote entrepreneurship.
I want to understand, and for all of us, how is Shiprocket different?
India has 5% retail penetration.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. हो गया 5%.
5-6% जो भी है, but
yeah.
there's a lot of room.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I am very happy that more people are behind this cause.
Yeah.
Few years ago, people thought we were crazy. They didn't even understand कि ये है क्या, मतलब
Yeah,
क्यों
yeah.
चाहिए ये. You know, so I'm glad that, you know, the government, other orgs, बहुत अच्छी बात है. Like, it's the more the merrier, right? In some ways, because इतनी market creation pending है, इतनी awareness pending है, that the more people talk about it. And in many ways, we give credit to Amazon and Flipkart for creating that market
Yes.
of saying buying online, selling online is good. At least that
I would
bridge.
say first Flipkart in India at
Sure,
least.
sure. Yeah, Flipkart first,
Yeah,
for sure, right?
yeah.
They
Even
helped
make
us.
my trip to get people to use their credit card online.
Red bus,
that was
all
the
of
biggest.
them,
That was
yes.
the biggest
Right?
challenge.
So
Right? People
you
didn't
build
want
on
to
top
use.
of like what's happening.
In a way, you're building the ecosystem also, right?
No, absolutely.
And especially in tier 2, 3 India.
Absolutely, and it's a big area of focus for us. I think what Flipkart and Amazon did for Tier 1 and Metro in the early part of this decade, new startups like Meesho are now doing for Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, where people are getting more used to buying online. Earlier, it was through WhatsApp groups, through resellers, people who they trusted. Then that trust translated into online buying and credit card buying. And now we truly believe that the next wave of direct-to-consumer commerce in India, people use this term Bharat commerce a lot, but it's going to come from Tier 2 and 3 because those markets are underserved. Today, no one is really focusing on how to educate and train people who want to set up their own online businesses in Tier 2 and 3 cities. We all assume that sitting in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, they have the same access to resources that we have here.
Yeah.
They don't have startup mixers happening probably every weekend. They don't have
Yeah.
talks happening by the large advertising companies, logistics companies. What we're trying to do is build that ecosystem now in Tier 2 and 3. And the fruit of that might not come in the next year or 2 years, but as India grows, as e-commerce penetration grows, the next wave of sellers, D2C sellers, online sellers, we very firmly believe will, and they're already there. It's just that it's not as penetrated as it should be today. Still, a lot of the sellers are concentrated in few of the larger cities, and we want to build that.
Tell us some of the things that you're sensing on ground. And Akshay, I want to also ask you this question because there's a huge conversation in the startup ecosystem that India में सिर्फ 60 million users हैं, right? मुझे लगता है इंडिया में हम सब बहुत सारे हैं, right? तो सच कहाँ है?
In 5 years of doing this business, while we've grown like whatever 50
Yeah,
times,
phenomenally.
right? Our trend on Tier 1 versus Tier 2 demand side trend has inverted. So what used to be 70-30, 70 Tier 1 is now 35 Tier 1, 65 Tier 2.
Wow.
Right? And inching there, which means it's in that direction, right? Where a lot of the buyer is sitting in the Tier 2, 3 and so on, right? So that's one. On the seller side also, the 60-40 has become 45-55, right?
Interesting.
So there are now sellers coming in from smaller cities who are finding it easy to jump on the bandwagon and say, okay, I'll just do this and Shiprocket and I'm ready to go. So I can try this. A lot of it changed during COVID, which is also interesting on the seller side because a lot of people probably needed to change at that time or needed to experiment with this business model because there was nothing else available.
Yeah.
On the how many buyers are there? So I can tell you data because we power all these transactions, right? We have uniquely served already about 80-85 million buyers.
Wow.
Right? Cumulative. Now it could be just one transaction, but they are there like because someone
that's
went to their doorstep and made a delivery. So I mean,
That's a very, very good number.
yeah. So, and are they deep buyers? Are they going to lead to a lot of repeat? I don't know. So I don't know when people say that there's only 50, 60 million. Are they talking about sort of?
आज एक नया number मिला है. नहीं तो 60, 50 मिल रहा था.
But this is from our data.
Yeah,
like,
but 85 is a significant number.
80, 85 million
Yeah.
unique buyers
Yeah.
have interacted with our merchants and us at some point.
Wow.
Right? Cumulative बता रहा हूँ मैं. It could have happened 2 years ago, whatever. But those
No, but
buyers,
that's okay.
unique
Yeah,
buyers, right?
yeah.
So those buyers are there, right? वो हैं तभी वो कुछ खरीदे हैं.
और grow कर रहा
And the
होगा.
other interesting fact, which is why sometimes this number is probably underreported, almost 35, sometimes 40% of our demand doesn't come in through a structured channel. So
Got it.
typically, what a lot of our merchants do, you know what their e-commerce stack is? Google Forms, PDF, WhatsApp, and Shiprocket.
You're also doing cross-border. Tell us about that because I'm very curious. क्योंकि सबका सपना है. पता है हमने event किया था 1 साल पहले, and we met some of the MSMEs and they said we want to sell in US, and I was like, wow, you can be from a very small town in India, but you know that where in New York you want to sell.
No, absolutely. And I think cross-border has become a reality. It's got huge potential in the coming years, but about 2-3 years ago, a lot of the people who were successful selling online, and the US tends to be one of the larger markets, were people who were selling on Amazon through FBA or on eBay, Etsy. But there are a lot of entrepreneurs in our country who have cracked overseas selling. But it was a niche. It had not really become mass market. So a lot of the people who were selling domestically, for them, selling overseas was always a pipe dream, right? They didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
It is very complex. We started this business last year. Thinking about it, we launched it in June of this year. And it took us 6 months as well to get through all the modalities, customs, exports, how does this work? And we now go to a lot of the major export hubs of this country like Jaipur, Surat. We're doing something in Hyderabad tomorrow with YourStory. And what we realize is that there's a lot of people now who have the understanding of what they want to sell, who they want to sell to. Exactly what you said, right? They know that there's a customer base, for example, for raw honey. They know that organic raw honey, they have a huge customer base in this part of the US on these demand channels, whether it's eBay, Etsy, Amazon. But they want to do they want to own the customer. They want to own the customer experience. They don't just want to send their goods to a warehouse in the US and let everything happen from there, because they want to build the repeat customer base. That's the only way overseas selling really makes sense, because customer acquisition costs there are very high. And that is a trend we started seeing about 2 years ago, just immediately post COVID, and it's really accelerated. It's not a flash in the pan that it happened during COVID. People are now diversifying their customer base overseas. Some people are looking at North America as a key market. Some people are looking at the Middle East as their key market. And usually they will list their products on an Amazon, eBay, Etsy to get the demand from the marketplaces initially, figure out what products sell, what products don't sell, because it's not necessary that what sells in India, the same product will have the highest demand there. And they usually do this for 6 to 9 months, and then they say they want to either do their own .com website, or they want to start shipping directly to have more control over the customer experience. And we at Shiprocket launched Shiprocket X in June of this year. We've been piloting this product for 2 or 3 months, and the aim is to make shipping hassle-free the way we did it 5 years ago in India for online commerce and online merchants. We're trying to do the exact same thing now for cross-border. We've had great success in the last 30 days. I don't want to take too much pride in that yet. There's still a very long way to go. But my ambition, when people ask me, why are you guys doing this? There's so much scope in the D2C market, in online commerce in India. Why is this a natural extension for you? We think it's a natural extension for our merchants. If it's a natural extension for our merchants, people who are selling domestically today, a large percentage of them will want to sell overseas, maybe now, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now. And I always say the biggest sense of pride that I want is I go to a pharmacy or a supermarket in the US and I see 5 or 6 Indian products there, especially if they're D2C brands. I think nothing will make me more proud. Today I see a Tata or a Mahindra or a Maruti overseas, I feel proud. I feel the time has now come. Beyond just the large brands, we take our own products, our D2C products, our entrepreneurs have the ability, they've built such unique products. And this is the one thing, that there is power in niches. Like you said, you need to have a big enough TAM. But sometimes we limit our TAM by saying, oh, I'm serving the Indian consumer and I am building, let's say, this high-end Ayurvedic hair oil, and my TAM becomes significantly low because at this price point, I only have so many people who are willing to buy. right? And a lot of people then start diluting the product vision from being this really high quality, let's say hair oil company, which is organic ingredients. You'll say, okay, let me start introducing a product at a lower price point because I want to increase my TAM.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen is that the vision now has changed. People are saying, why am I limiting the TAM by India? Why am I putting that master filter up there? My TAM is global. I may start off with India, get product market fit, figure out my products, and I'm going to stick to this niche. But now my TAM is maybe 100x bigger because I can cater this, because the ecosystem has also evolved to a large extent. I can cater to a global audience.
The sociological fabric also of pride in Indian brands are increasing, right? Like a sense of pride and a sense of that we can go to the world. Otherwise, we were just looking very, very inside. क्योंकि हमारा market भी इतना बड़ा है कि मतलब हम देख सकते हैं. And are you sensing that change in entrepreneurs when it comes to, feeling proud about this is made in India?
We were just had an event with CII some time ago, and we were talking about consumer electronics. And consumer electronics is a category which has had a lot of imports, especially from countries like China, right? When you talk about audio accessories, audio speakers and all. And now with the government incentives in PLI, most of the entrepreneurs I spoke to are setting up their own manufacturing facilities here. And they're very proud of it because a lot of startups start up as marketing brands. They import the product, they do the QC, but it's the brand that they build. And now they're full-fledged going into the manufacturing part of it. And the pride is there that, yes, we are making it here, we're sourcing it here. And as consumers, I think a lot of times we shortchange our own products. I think that is the biggest sociological change that I've seen. That people, and this is a personal opinion, I don't have data to back it, but at least when I talk about myself and the people around me, we are very proudly buying Made in India products now.
You're acquiring a lot of interesting companies. You've acquired some 4 or 5?
4.
बहुत अच्छी बात है. And Picker was, I think, the latest acquisition. Tell us one. I want to go behind in terms of the thinking that goes in terms of this inorganic growth. And the second is, ये सब को लाकर, how does it look?
I need to make shipping accessible. That was it. Very simple goal. Kar liya. Version 2 was then saying, I need to fix the merchant experience around shipping. बहुत disputes हैं, बहुत problems आती हैं. Infrastructure itself develop हो रहा है, and so on, right? Version 3 of us was कि यार, Amazon does a great job, probably the best job at doing consumer experience, right? These merchants are lacking because they don't have the tech, workflow, intelligence, tools, whatever it is. So that became our sort of, we kept zooming out in some ways, right? And now we're saying that everything from like the journey till a product page. In e-commerce, you see an ad, which is the discovery part. You land on a website or on a WhatsApp, depending on social commerce or not. That's done by the catalog guys, let's call it. And up until here, you'll notice that it's owned by a lot of the global guys. Because it's a bits journey. Pure bits. Bits travel faster. Right? The moment you hit the product page, there's a slight hint of atoms, because now you need to know, where is this item? Can I promise a date to my consumer? That's what Amazon will do. Right? Can it come tomorrow? Because if you tell them, your conversion will go up. Can I guarantee a return? And so on. Then you go through checkout. There's the fraud, COD, UPI payments. Then there's sort of the actual shipping allocation. Which carrier is going to take it? Is it delayed? What do I tell the consumer? Last mile पे बहुत issue होता है. Deliver नहीं हो रहा. Uncertainty होती है. Returns seamless है कि नहीं है? Refund कितनी देर में आ रहा है? Loyalty है. Remarketing है. Customer service hai. So we simply looked at the horizontals and said, yaar, they are doing a brilliant job here. ये सारा कुछ लेके उन्होंने एक बटन में डाल दिया बस. One click checkout, right? You press it and things happen. So how do we get this going for the direct commerce and the independent business market? That became our next sort of 5-year mission. On that mission, we realized that we are only 3 on 10. Because there are many parts, starting from the on-site marketing, going into the consumer communication, going to customer service, going to large enterprises and small guys. And usko basically we've drawn out a roadmap where we're saying, okay, we'll build. Obviously, we are builders. But if there is opportunities available where there is a meeting of the minds, that is number 1, right? We don't care about product, we care about people. So if there's a meeting of the minds, there is a common goal and mission again, and it helps us accelerate this faster. We should think about doing it. So that is a sort of a go-to market for us, and we are a profitable company, right? We turned net EBITDA in May of 19, And since then, our core business continues to be profitable.
Brilliant.
We make investments in going global. We make
This
investments
should be the headline, yeah.
So the point is, for us, fundraising is a great way to be able to accelerate what we want to do.
Ye mindset towards profitability and not burning cash, was it there ingrained early on, or did it come with time?
If you want to build a fundamentally sound business, when we look at companies, when we look at founders, we look at founders who have a similar vision.
Yeah.
Because if that vision clashes, then it can never be a happy marriage.
So all our acquisitions are architecturally profitable. None of them really burn. I mean, they may be experiments and stuff, but architecturally they are designed to be profitable.
Yeah. One of the key components as the market evolves, I'm sure, would be retention, right?
Yes, we are into fulfillment, we're into shipping, but at the core of it, we're into delivering a good customer experience. And that is the core of retention. Because if you buy once, you're happy, you will come back. You know, our entire business model to an extent is predicated on a merchant becoming successful and having a large number of repeat customers. So taking that mindset aside, you know, retention marketing, even as a tool or as a platform, one of the biggest reasons why we invested in Vixo is because that's a large part of what they do, right? It's not just about customer acquisition. I think when you're in bull markets, when money is freely flowing, a lot of startups are built on customer acquisition. But the moment you start coming into slightly tougher markets, bear markets, retention, repeat becomes the core mantra on which you build your business.
When the light and camera of attention on entrepreneurs and startups is away, it's tough. I want to understand from both of you, and please give me very specific answer if you may. What are some of the things that you do in your life, in your everyday practice, tools, behaviors, something to keep yourself grounded, to keep yourself anchored, and to keep yourself centered?
In our 3 avatars, you know, this toughness ka definition has also changed. Because up until good 5 years ago, it was always about ki bhai, will we be around? You know, so that's a different kind of pressure.
I understand that.
Ki investors ke paise, you know, and we feel a lot about that. Huh? We don't think ki, we think सारा पैसा हमारा ही है actually.
It's a very good, amazing. I love that middle class mentality.
बिल्कुल यार, ये मैंने लिए हुए हैं and I have to make sure I return it. You know, loan ही है वो in the end of the day. So that is a big pressure, and then pressure of payroll. Believe me, those are the only 2 pressures we lived with till like whatever 4-5 years ago. कि यार ये दोनों करने हैं बस, बाकी देख लेंगे. You know, बाकी ठीक है, vision वो सब देख लेंगे. But these 2, यहाँ पे 100 people की jobs हैं and we have to make sure ये होना है. So I think at least having that is a good motivation.
Yeah.
है ना? तो then you short term ही सही, you will do things to make sure यार ये affect नहीं होना चाहिए. Come what may. Okay, so at least that drives you outside of you. वो आपकी मोटिवेशन नहीं है, वो कुछ और है, कहीं और से आ रहा है वो. It's more of a principalistic thing. And then after, obviously, once you cross that hurdle to say, okay, self-sufficient hai, capital hai, then I think the pressure is different. The pressure then is to say that I had thought I would be here and I would be making X impact. Why am I making 0.8 X impact? And how do I cross this bridge? External pressures hai, ecosystem mein changes hai, recession hai, all kinds of things then come into the mix. Where I think for me personally, and again, every entrepreneur will have a different view. One, having a team of co-founders that you can trust, according to me, is the single reason why we are here.
Okay.
Because in the early days, I remember Gautam and I started back in the day, and every week we would argue whether we should do it or not. Because it's such, right? You're in sort of, we were mid-stage of our careers or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And the week I would argue, he would say, nahi, karte hain, you know, and that's very important.
Yeah.
If I was doing it alone, I would have wrapped up in 2 months. Not because I didn't believe, it was just hard.
Yeah.
In the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then as you get sort of, as we brought, you know, as Vishesh, Akshay sort of came along, I think the single most reason on this question is that. So a lot of people ask me, should I get a co-founder? I was like, I couldn't do it without one. So आप देख लो. But मेरे हिसाब से it's impossible for me.
When you feel tough, थोड़ा broken, so there is someone to say कि चलो, चलते रहो.
And ultimate trust भी चाहिए.
Yeah.
That's the only way, you know, you can.
And it's not even just about when you're broken, right? I think the fact today, and I 100% believe this, is that, you know, being able to be honest with each other, right? Because it's not always everyone is 100% honest with you, but having co-founders that you can be 100% honest with, be vulnerable with, share your anxiety with, share your optimism with, I think it's very, very important because you
Yeah.
know you're never going to be judged, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like, literally it's like having, it's your better, it's
It's
your
being
better half.
naked in front of the
Yeah,
other
it's your better
person.
half,
Yeah.
right? It's like your life partner, right?
No,
And-
better half also you have to maintain.
right? But it is, that level of trust has to be there, that no matter what I say,
Yeah.
right? Tomorrow, we've dealt with whatever we had, and tomorrow is a brand new day.
Yeah.
And I'll take your question in a very practical way, right? So I joined the company a little later in its stage. We were already at a Series B valuation. I met Sahil through a common friend. We hit it off, came into an engine that was already being built. We were not setting up the workshop per se, right? And for me, the single biggest way that I personally feel to be able to handle pressure is taking those 2-3 days a month to it's not just about taking a break, it's about having a broader perspective,
Yeah.
like taking a step back from the day to day. Because one thing I think we've realized is Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday doesn't matter, because every weekend that we say, okay, this weekend, we're going to take the days off, eventually on Friday something has come up and the calendars are full, right? So saying that, it never happens in a startup, right?
Yeah.
And whilst we don't want to do it for the people who work with us, we ourselves, we have to do it.
Yeah.
But then taking that time off to say, okay, reflect back upon what you've done. It's not just about taking a pause from the day-to-day, the chaos. It is also about thinking through whether you've actually achieved. There have been months where I've looked back and I was like, I didn't really do much this month.
Yeah.
Whilst I was in the month, I thought it was amazing. I was doing a lot. When I look back, I said, started on the 1st, ended on the 31st. Akshay, you haven't done much. So figure out why you haven't done much, because you've been working the hours. And then you take that step back and then you realize, and then a lot of times we talk to each other saying that, like, I'm having this challenge. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And it's always that time also get another perspective.
Yeah.
So I think taking a step back, it's very easy for entrepreneurs to say we have no time. Everyone has time.
It's very practical. What you're saying is that महीने में चाहे वो 2 दिन हो या 3 दिन हो, switch off to look. What do you do, Sahil?
I've struggled with switching off, which is why I've built, processes into my life where I'm forced to switch off. Started a few years ago with saying, I'm just not going to. So I'll tell you, the biggest thing with a lot of, and I've seen this with other founders too, is, you'd make a to-do list and the list will have like 3 months of work. And you say, मैं आज कर दूंगा. वो नहीं हो सकता है आज. And then you feel guilty. मैंने एक भी नहीं किया इसमें.
Yeah.
So I actually started realizing that ये नहीं हो सकता. And you just start making smaller lists. Make them more achievable.
Yeah.
Be an underachiever, yeah. Because for some people, that's very important to be told that this is already enough.
Yeah.
You can't do any more. You'll just get demotivated.
Yeah.
So I think that process of saying, I'm going to write what I'm going to do, I think translated soon into, sort of goal setting for a quarter for myself, then soon to my team, and then soon to the company. And honestly, and again, you need certain scale to do it. But I think it got a lot of peace and comfort to me personally, because it was clear that, look, the next 3 months, we got to do this. Now you figure out your calendar versus every day feeling like everything has to be done now.
Yeah.
So for me, that method, honestly, really, really made a huge difference.
What does money mean to you?
Money is a means to an end, right? It's a mean to having a comfortable life, and it's a means to living a lifestyle that I want. Beyond that, it's just a number in a bank account. One of the things that I tell Sahil is that, if whatever happens with this company, right? If we go public, I think one of the proudest moments of my life will be sitting there at the stock exchange, standing there with him when that happens. And even if we don't go public, we want to build an institution that outlives us, that stays there. So every time I see a Shiprocket board or a Shiprocket office, that sense of pride will be that, I was there when it started. Not that I built it. I was there when it started.
I'm meeting a lot of people from non-startup world and they're saying, हाँ आपके तो startup world में सबको valuation चाहिए, funding चाहिए, पैसा चाहिए, but honestly वो नहीं चाहिए. That's one of the yardsticks, fortunately or unfortunately, that measures. But I just don't think so. People do things for money.
Anybody who is doing anything at a startup
is doing it for money.
Believe me, you have to look at our office, and I think it's a great office, by the way.
Yeah,
but the point is that people come here from fancy glass offices because they want to be part of the mission.
Yeah.
Not because they care about कि free में chocolates मिल रही हैं क्या.
Yeah,
believe me, people said culture में ये free में सामान दे दो खाने के लिए. And we talk to people who said nobody cares, right? They are here for some other reason.
Yeah.
So I think the mission definitely has to be bigger than the money. Believe me. And it is a step function. See, both my wife and I quit our jobs when we moved back to India. And we realized when we had launched this baby that there was another one on the way. So suddenly, having 2 babies no money, it is difficult.
Yes.
Believe me, right?
Yes.
So I will not say कि हाँ money is not important. It is, because you have to run a household. But वो एक step function तक ही important होता है. And then once you are secure, is what I think, your family is sort of taken care of. I think वहाँ तक it is a necessity, if you ask me, because if you can't do that, then you can't focus on your work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But after that, it is like, I don't think it holds any value, to be very honest, because beyond a point, it will not really give you any happiness, right? Can you comfortably buy experiences with it? Probably. That may make you happy. But by itself, it's not like, it's happiness is here, right? It's not in your bank account.
If you had to say, this will mean success.
I would like to power every direct commerce transaction in the emerging world. And I say emerging for a reason, because we believe the problems are very
Similar.
unique to this part of the world. And we have done a first principle, grounds up, made in India, for India, that people thought was batshit crazy at the time product, right? तो वो बहुत बड़ा pride है हमारे लिए, यार ये हमने बनाया था, सबको देखा था, तुम पागल हो, और अभी चल रहा है. So we want to export it. We wanted to power every independent business in the world, in the emerging world.
Today or tomorrow, whenever that day happens, if the brand Shiprocket is able to inspire trust, that Shiprocket से आ रहा है तो पहुंच जाएगा, कोई टेंशन नहीं है, खरीद लो online. To an extent, what Amazon has done, right? If Shiprocket is able to have that kind of trust within its supplier network, seller network, customer network, I think that would be the proudest day of my life.
Wow. So basically, you're saying Shiprocket, then it becomes a lexicon for trust.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. I don't know if you guys felt it, but I thought this was very, 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 very genuinely real, authentic, deep, nuanced conversation. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.